Okay, cool. For the record, I just ordered some tacos for dinner. It's like 8:30 right now, and we're gonna see if I can get this entry done before the tacos arrive. So we're kind of on a time crunch on this one, but yeah. Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we're gonna be giving a 200+ mile review on the Nike Pegasus Turbo 2. So basically, this is a shoe I've taken a few steps back with, just because I had a couple other things in my lineup of shoes that I wanted to play around with more or less, including the Tempo Next Percent and whatnot. And with the news of the successor of this shoe, the Nike Invincible Flyknit, I believe that's the name of it, I wanted to get this shoe pushed to the absolute limits, to the point where either it goes flat or it just starts ripping up to a point where it's unusable, so the successor can come into play just conveniently, you know what I mean? So on that note, before we get into the actual shoe review, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will be having some weekly, daily training vlog kind of things coming up real soon. It might have already started by the time I upload this video. But yeah, comment down below if you think, place your bets before anything, whether the tacos are going to arrive before this vlog is complete. I will have my phone right here ready to go, so if something does start ringing and the taco place is ready to go, we'll find out and then whatnot. So, and then also comment down your favorite taco setup. Like in my case, I got 3 steak tacos because steak is clutch. Especially on tacos. You get that with some cilantro and onions. Beautiful. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Pegasus Turbo 2. Overall, based on what I've seen on YouTube and like people talking to me in the comment sections and people messaging me, this shoe gets an overall very positive response, minus some things we've talked about historically, but we'll just get into it. So, first things first, let's talk specs. The shoe does weigh about 7.2, 7.3 ounces on average. It'll weigh a little bit less when you go from size 10 in the men's size and start going down. In this case, it's an 8.5, so it's maybe like 7 to 7.1 ounces. It's not a huge difference, but the idea here is that it's a very light shoe overall compared to a lot of daily trainers that exist on the market. That being said, that is like about 210, 215 grams on average if you want that conversion number. The offset from the heel to toe is about 10 millimeters, where I believe the heel is 28 millimeters stack height, and then the toe box is about 18. So that does give you this kind of like, not a high heel feel necessarily. Is that the doorbell? The tacos might actually be here. Let's go find out. Guys, you'll not believe this. Literally, like 5 minutes after placing that order, and it's all here. That's pretty insane. This place is like maybe a mile away from my house. That's kind of bonkers. So, if you commented down below and you said I was going to finish it before the tacos were going to get here, you're wrong. So, anyways, let's get back to it. Let's talk specs. From the heel to toe stack height, that's where I believe we left off. The heel to toe is 28 millimeter heel, 18 in the front forefoot area here, 10 millimeter stack height overall. Gives it kind of a high heel feel, but because there's no carbon plate in this particular shoe, it doesn't necessarily translate directly into that, because the Zoom X and the React foam in the bottom of the shoe here kind of allow the shoe to sink a little bit. Mostly the Zoom X, but the React also kind of plays a part in that. So, let's talk about the insole, outsole, and bottoms overall. So, this was a good thing that a YouTube commenter let me know about. Nike gets ribbed on a lot for this particular thing they do. I don't know why they do it, but it confused a lot of people, including me. This Zoom X down here is actually the React foam. I had a suspicion that this was the case, but I just, it says Zoom X on it, but it's React here on the bottom, and the Zoom X is here on top, which makes a lot more sense, because the Zoom X is a lot more, you sink into it a lot more, and you get more of a pop from it, whereas the React is more of like a 1-to-1 ratio of input-output, and it's also a very durable foam overall. So that setup makes a lot more sense to me than the opposite in this particular instance. So that's what's going on. It's Zoom X on the top, React on the bottom. Cool. The bottoms of the shoe, as you already know, has this signature Pegasus Turbo setup, more or less, overall. Designed more for road running, not really so much for trail running. And then of course for winter running and slippery running, we're going to get into that like probably real soon because I do have some things I want to say on that note. What else? The upper is this kind of mesh style upper. It's not necessarily a fly knit. I don't think it's a fly knit at all actually in this particular case. And it's just very flexible, very durable. And it is very also snug for this shoe overall because in the original rendition of the Pegasus Turbo, the upper, including the shoe collar area, was a little bit too flexible, and it was hard to get a lock in the shoe overall, and the power that you should have been getting out of this shoe just wasn't, more or less, just existing in this particular case. But anyways, back to the Peg Turbo 2. The secret sauce of this shoe, obviously, is the big change they made between the two models, which is the shoe collar, which doesn't have a whole lot of material going on with it, and that's a really good thing. There's no plush on the inside, minus, like, a little bit of Achilles pillow on the sides of the Achilles area of the shoe. But this lock, when you tie the shoe, is very snug, and it's very comfortable, and it keeps a really good lock on the shoe as you're running. Whereas like some shoes are like very not stable while you're running in them because of the way your foot hits the ground and you might shake to the side. The way you lock yourself in the shoe is the way you're going to get out of the shoe. More or less what you're going to get out of the shoe. That's what I meant to say. So that's where the shoe really excels, in my opinion, is just its ultimate lock and the pop you get out of this shoe based on its foam design. Because this is a very good all-around everyday training shoe in this particular instance. So let's talk about 200 plus miles. First things first, let's do the traditional rubber on the bottoms observation, look, whatever we want to call it. So here we go. As you see, there's obvious stuff going on that you can probably guess what we're going to talk about. And then, of course, we got this going on with the heel, as I've mentioned before, and the heel on this one. So, let's talk about the right foot, of course. So, this is an interesting case because I've mentioned this previously while we discussed the shoe. It's shredded the way it is, not necessarily because of my running form, although it does play a part in it. But there were times where I drove in this shoe, and when you're pressing the gas and the brake pedal, that movement plus pushing on those pedals and like moving your foot and like grinding them sideways on the pedals will wear this out to the point where it does in fact look this shiny. And I can prove it definitely with my original Peg 1s that this is a similar pattern going on. So that being said, I abused these shoes in a way that I wasn't supposed to. That being said, how does this affect the performance? Well, there's some things that I have pretty much some big concerns about. One of those, of course, is being the minor slippage I'm feeling in the shoes. This one has some slippage going on, but it's really weird to say that this shoe, with not nearly as much wear and tear, is also experiencing a little bit of slippage. So even though we were off the ice in some instances, there was still a little bit of slip going on, which kind of had me concerned, which was just basically telling me that either this is just shredded to the point where if there was some ice or some kind of snow just like lodged in this rubber in a way, it was hard to break out of. But again, this is designed to be a road running shoe, so in a way it's supposed to be very minimal on this bottom, so if something like that does happen, if there's like snow and ice that gets caught, it can be easily pushed out of the shoe. I guess it wasn't really the case this time around, but again, there's a Pegasus Turbo Shield version of the shoe, which we'll review again real soon in a comparison video that was requested. But basically, that's kind of what's going on, is like in the icier, snowier conditions, there is a bit of slip in this shoe, which does kind of become an inconvenience in a way. I'll post today's Strava, I think, here. This was the run that I was doing. Typically, I can push out like a 6:20, 6:15 pace out of my shoes. I think today's run was like a 6:30, 6:45. Strava may have given me like a grade adjusted pace on that, but I digress. The point being, it was a bit of a slower day because of running on ice and whatnot. But yeah, again, the forefoot area is pretty beaten up. This particular area is not as bad as I thought it would be. It looks like just this central area is pretty grazed, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. That means in this particular case, the shoe is stable enough to keep my foot flat rather than kind of round it and then kick off that side. And then, of course, as we've mentioned before, the heel doesn't really experience all too much wear and tear because I'm not really walking or heel striking much in the shoe. So that's kind of the big developments with this particular shoe as we have it. And then, like I mentioned, we will have a comparison video to the Invincible when the Invincible comes out to discuss how the successor is feeling versus this particular shoe. And I will also compare this to the Pegasus Turbo Shield as it was requested for me to do so. So I will obviously get that rolling as well. But overall, I can't really say anything bad about the shoe in terms of its road performance. Like, you can get some really fast runs out of this shoe because of how light it is, how stable it is, how snug the ultimate fit of this particular shoe is, and I understand more and more on a daily basis as to why people really fell in love with this shoe the first time they got it, and why some people have multiple pairs of it, because again, the shoe is being phased out of Nike's lineup, and it's going to be harder and harder to find this particular shoe for training. And will I buy another one? I don't know. It depends how the Invincible goes. If the Invincible just straight up sucks and just doesn't feel anything like this, and we want more of a feeling like this in a shoe, it might be the play. But overall, as we see it right now, I'm still loving this shoe. I think I can push out maybe another 100, 150 miles before we start really ripping into this, or the slip becomes really bad on the roads. That's when we kind of reach the breaking point, because you can't really turn this into a trail runner in any sort of way because of how little rubber there is, how little protection the foam in the forefoot area kind of gives you. So that's just something that it's a no-go on that front. This is, in my opinion, should be strictly a road running shoe. If like anything, maybe dirt, maybe like gravel can be considered, but trails definitely not. It's not for that sauce, you know what I mean? So anything else? I mean, I don't think so. That's just really my big concern, is that there's a little bit of slip on it at this point. It doesn't feel necessarily flat because, again, if I'm experiencing slip, it's hard to tell if the shoe is slowing me down because it's feeling flat and, you know, there's an imbalance in the rubber and the foam. But definitely winter running, not the right play. And then as we discussed previously, like, don't use another shoe to kick this shoe off in order to pull it off, because that's why we got this rip in the heel and in basically this, I would say, the rear connection of the shoe, as you can probably see there. But yeah, this hasn't caused any major issues in terms of the performance of the shoe. It's just something in the back here that just, like, we kind of see. It hasn't totally ripped off or been totally completely damaged, but it is noticeable that the foams have ripped off in those places. So that's really, I think, it right now for the Peg Turbo 2. I just really wanted to give my assessment at 200 plus miles that if you take care of the shoe, it'll definitely go strong for you. You'll have zero issues with it whatsoever, but that's the caveat. You have to take care of it. Like, treat it as a running shoe and not an everyday walking, driving type of shoe. Otherwise, you run into these problems that I have, more or less. And then obviously be conscious of the weather when you're running in this shoe. Otherwise, you might have just a bad time overall. I think the only con that people have mentioned with this shoe, I think, is the width of the toe box. Some people really don't like it. But on that note, I mean, I don't have a personal issue with the width of the toe box. I think it's just very stable, more or less, in this midfoot region. That kind of helps lock that in versus, you know, the toes, like, clawing into the shoe to keep you locked. So, I don't know, that's my take. But yeah, if you are feeling like this toe box is a little bit wide, you can drop the half size. I don't think that's an issue. Or try to wear a thicker sock while you're running in it. Those are probably the only two solutions I can really think of for the Pegasus Turbo 2 on that front. I think that's where we're going to end this video for now. So again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, so when the Invincible does come out, we will have our comparison with the Turbo 2, how the Invincible stands out, which one is ultimately better in that case, and yeah. I think we'll leave it at that. Well, no, actually, tell me how you, if you're new to this channel, tell me how, if you are new to this channel, tell me how the Pegasus Turbo 2 has been treating you at this point in time. I know a lot of you have had really positive experiences, but if you've had a really bad experience with the Peg Turbo 2, let's hear it. I want to see what people dislike about this shoe that I may be missing or am just used to. But what else are we? Oh yeah, you should definitely subscribe to this channel, because as you can see, we are about 500 plus subscribers, so we're halfway to being monetized. That's a big deal. So yeah, we're only halfway there, but I think it gets easier from here, hopefully, as I can start pushing out more content. That is the plan. So yeah, all right, that's awesome. So thanks again for watching this video. I'll see you guys real soon. It's taco time.